We are live.
Hello.
Hello. I don't think we have chat up, do we? Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. All right. So I'm good when you are. We just need to start it. Been working on anything at all, Brian?
You know me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been so I'd been gone in Reno for so long that I hadn't been going to my local hack space. And I kept paying my membership dues because I mean of all the places to send some money each month, I don't mind sending it there. So my RFID tag to get in still worked, even though I hadn't been there in like 6, 8, 9 months. So I scanned in, went back there, spent probably 16 hours there in the past week. And I was building a new teleprompter. I'd built one years and years ago, back when I made longboarding videos and narrated about how I built these boards, because I've never bought a longboard deck. I've only ever built my own. And so if you look at my old YouTube stuff, like 6 years old, you'll find these videos. And in some of them, I was narrating, and I was doing that with this homemade teleprompter. And I wanted to make some improvements to make it better, bigger. And so I've been building one. And here is what the new one looks like. I'm pretty happy with it. It allows me to look at you, Tim, and instead of just looking at the screen while my eyes are down below the camera, I'm looking right at the camera and looking at your eyes. I've got my script up for some of our spots, and I can look at those, and those have been properly mirrored and rotated.
So
And
it's a
so
two-way mirror is what you have it on. You have a camera behind a two-way mirror and the mirror facing towards the teleprompter text.
it's not even as fancy as a two-way mirror, because a two-way mirror would block some of the light.
Right.
And this is just a clear sheet of plastic. That's all it does. That's all it takes to reflect that. I've got to have my screen brightness cranked up to max. But other than that, yeah, they're real simple devices. And then I've just got a black piece of fabric draped over the camera in the back so that it makes that kind of mirrorish surface.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, anyone can make their own. It's collapsible and everything. I'll have instructions on how I did that on my blog, 24-Hour Engineer, fairly soon.
All right. What's the address to that?
.com.
.com.
24hourengineer.com.
All right,
How about you, Tim? What do you got going on?
Oh man, nothing. With my
Daddyhood.
daughter, fatherhood just keeps me busy, and then I got the 2 jobs, so hopefully time will loosen up here.
Let's hope so.
A year of 80 hours per week.
Gross. That's gross.
Yeah.
Another upcoming one that is going to be, since we're in February, at the end of February, there is Body Hacking Con in Austin, Texas. I'll be going to that. So if you see me there, please say hi. I'd love to hear from you. I'll give you a business card or something. You know, the NFC sensing business cards, the tools. So hopefully hopefully get to see some people there.
All right. Well, are we ready to record, Brian?
Let me get my booth all set up. I think I'm ready to record.
Okay, then I'll count us in. Just let me find my place here. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
Hello and welcome. My name is Brian McAvoy.
And I'm Tim Shank. This is 2 Cyborgs and a Microphone. Brought to you by Blockpool. Brought to you by Blockpool. Real-world blockchain solutions for business. Using BIT, a custom API interface to interact with legacy applications and databases, Blockpool enables a level of integration that was previously impossible. Go check them out at blockpool.io. So today's episode, we're talking about professional cyborgs.
Now let's define what that is first, because we've got stock humans, which is just, how you're born, au naturel. We've got medical cyborgs. Those are people who have some kind of medical procedure, implant, or something like that, that keeps them at a standard human level. And you've got the recreational cyborgs like Tim and I. We have implants and stuff because we want to make ourselves better than stock human, or change something about us that is important to us. And a professional cyborg is somebody who needs the augment in order to do their job.
Yeah, there aren't many of these around yet that are at least in the public eye. There's probably more than we know about.
Yep.
But
sure there are.
So when we're talking about these people, the where we draw the line in the sand is you wouldn't be able to do your job without the implant. So
exactly.
There's a lot of people out there that do have implants and do a related job, but they're not dependent on having the implant or having the augmentation. So we're kind of leaving those out. We'll mention a couple, I'm sure.
Yeah. For example, somebody who uses their RFID implant as their work badge and they scan to get into work. Could you do your job just the same without an implant? You might not get into your office quite as quickly. You might forget your key once in a while, but it's not integral to your job. So hopefully that line will become clear.
Yeah. Well, we can start talking right away. Moon Rivas is an artist, an avant-garde artist. She has sensors in her body that let her feel real-time earthquake data. And I don't know how that's translated into the vibrations, but her implant is in her elbow. And as she dances, she kind of crafts her dance to what's happening and as far as earthquakes around the planet, right? So that's an interesting concept.
I was thinking about that the other day because we were compiling this list, and I thought about that from a standpoint of stuff that we've talked about earlier, where if your implant kind of extends your perception, where's the line drawn of what is you, and is that line just totally extended? If these implants that allow her to sense the earth globally truly extend like what makes her person, she would be the largest organism in our solar system.
Well, yeah, in that case, kind of, but wouldn't anybody feeling the wind be the same thing?
You don't feel the wind globally.
Well, everything's all very interrelated, and it's all one system of weather. So if you feel the breeze, that is in connection with every other air current on the planet.
I suppose from that same vein, I clearly didn't think about this for too long, because that same sense, anybody who feels the sun would also be like, I am part of the sun,
part of the solar system, right? Yeah, but no, it's cool. And other things too. I mean,
and that sensory is exclusive to her, which is kind of integral to being an organism, a single organism.
Yeah, that's true. But that's not all she's done. And I don't know if all of this falls into the professional cyborg part of it. But she's really worked with motion in general, and that seems to be her thing. I've never talked to her or anything. But she wore microscopes on her for something like 3 or 4 months, so she couldn't actually see anything, but she could see movement. And she like 3 months, and she visited places and everything, so that she had a more acute sense of movement after that. Well, there's no tests on stuff like this. I mean, we're all pioneers when it comes to this.
Yeah, interesting. So I hadn't heard that experiment.
Yeah, and then she had earrings. And I just read this. It's on our Wikipedia page, actually. She had earrings that let her sense movement behind her. So it kind of gave her an idea of what was happening behind her. And I don't know how, I don't have any of the details on it, but it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. So every grade school teacher's like, I have eyes in the back of my head. And Moon Rebus is like, well, I have distance sensors.
Well, see, now there's a whole new class of professional cyborgs right there. We should make something for that and give it to teachers. Let them have eyes in the back of their head.
Oh, man. Sensory input. You'd be like, that'd be kind of kooky, because there were classes where the teacher was so stringent about don't move if I'm not calling on you for a question. And I had my hand raised for like 3 minutes straight. My arm was going numb and I couldn't say, "Excuse me, I have a question." I had to only raise my hand. I could only raise my hand. And that deaf teacher had no idea I needed help.
So anyway, yeah, so that's an example of a professional cyborg. She does the artwork she produces is directly guided by her implant. That's interesting.
Yes. So we've got another artist, Neil Harbison, who is the first globally recognized cyborg because his passport has his augmentation in it. Neil Harbison is achromatic. He sees no color. So a device was built for him that translates the color of whatever he's looking at into a sound that he can recognize.
Yeah, now I don't know the details of his implant, but isn't that directly feeding into his nervous system, or is there? I don't think there's a vibration or any kind of tactile sensor or anything. I think it directly feeds his nervous system, doesn't it?
I think it's bone conduction. The device is mounted at the back of his head, and I think it vibrates the bone anchor, if I'm not mistaken.
So he has some kind of bone stud in the back of his head that it gets vibrated.
Yes, and that's where the device is mounted, and that's where it vibrates, I believe.
Now, what kind of art does he do?
So the one I remember, he did a very, very good TED Talk where he talks about his art, he talks about the implant itself, and the art he did were these concentric rectangles that were the same portions shrinking of the frame that they were in. And it looks like just a bunch of rainbow rings holding in on themselves towards the center. And what he did is he sampled different speeches and translated that sound into color, the opposite of what his implant does. So if I suppose it would be kind of like if he looked at the beginning towards the center, he would kind of have a sense of what that speech was happening. And so they all look unique, and they all have a sound clip associated with them, which I think is pretty super cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's a different way of seeing. I mean, it's something none
and
of
hearing.
us really imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do not have that, and it is truly a different type of sense. You know, it senses color in a very different way than our eyes do.
Yes, and it could be extended. It could be extended beyond our visual range into the infrared, into the ultraviolet, anywhere in the electromagnetic spectrum. So that's pretty cool. Years ago, I built a device that translated temperature into sound. So if you looked at a cup of coffee, it would vibrate at about 5,000 hertz. And if you looked at the inside of your deep freeze or anywhere outside in Minnesota right now, it would have a very low tone of around, I don't know, like 50 hertz or something.
Nice.
So it was a fun project to build. It looked like garbage because I did it so long ago and had no sense of aesthetics. As opposed to now where I have a tiny bit of aesthetics.
You're too generous on yourself.
I am very generous when I say I have some sense of style.
Yeah. All right. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. So we have you met a woman at DEF CON, right?
Yeah, DEF CON 2018.
Yeah, she was a magician. She was a magician, and tell us about her.
Okay. Her name's Anastasia Sin. She's been on Penn and Teller Fool Us. She's been on several other programs. So I'm not giving away any of her tricks because she's very open about this. She is a great voice in the biohacking community that we have. So she has a series of magnets. She's got a magnet in her forearm that's like the size of a hockey puck. It's enormous and it's powerful. Like if somebody flicks a steel washer at her wrist, or if somebody flicks a steel washer at her elbow from across the room, it will stick. Like when they got to aim for it because it's still just an ordinary magnet, but it's intensely powerful. I've never seen such a big implant, period, medical, otherwise. Never seen a big implant, much less a magnet of that size. And there's lots of cool videos out there if you search for her. Her name is Anastasia, the way you'd expect it. And then Syn is Synn.
All right. Very cool. And she's out there on YouTube and everything.
Yep. Easy to find. Very entertaining to watch. Anyway, the anecdote I have of her is that when I was in DEF CON, she was having a house party for a bunch of biohackers, and I was lucky enough to get invited and started hanging out there and just chit-chatted with a bunch of the cyborgs, met some cyborgs for the first time, and ran into Amanda Plimpton there, Cyberlass. And we hung out, and we've been seeing each other for about 6 months. So. Kind of a fan.
Ryan. So we did miss our spot here.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, we should talk about VivoKey, right?
Yes, we should.
Pretty awesome. So this episode is also brought to you by VivoKey. It's a platform for digital identity, authentication, cryptography, and payment applications secured with implantable subdermal NFC devices. So that's pretty exciting. You and I are both on the beta program, and I know that there's a lot of development happening right now.
Yep.
As soon as I get mine and it's clear to implant, I'm certainly.
Yeah, me too. I am excited to get those, and I always forget to have my Fidesmo card ready because that's basically what it is. Yeah, as soon as those puppies are ready to go in, I'm going to be driving to my implanter and eagerly getting that.
So we've kind of gone through everybody that we were going to talk about. I wish there were more of these.
Yeah, well, we thought about this for a week and a half, and we were trying to come up with names, and we came up with a lot of good names that weren't quite right. People who had implants and it was a big part of their job, or for example, like Amol, who makes and markets implants for us, but could he technically do his job without implants? Yeah.
And then who was it that I mentioned, the climber? I forget his name. Eric. Was it
Something
Eric?
Spence? No.
Oh man. Mark Inglis. It was Mark.
Yes.
And he had a climbing accident, lost, and ended up with severe frostbite, lost both of his legs underneath his knee.
Double amputee.
Yep, double amputee, and started building prosthetics and created custom prosthetics that allowed him to be a better climber.
Now he's back on top. No, he is. He says, I believe that he's a better climber than he was before the frostbite.
He was, and he still does competitions. I can't remember specifically what I read about him or where I read it, but there was some contention about him having specifically designed feet for climbing. They're narrower, they have sharp edges, so he can get into ice and rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So it does give him a decided advantage over somebody who has meat feet things.
As far as I'm concerned, that's his body.
Right. So now he has these prosthetics that he can put on that fit into the cracks on rocks that are more durable than the feet and the shoes that most people would have to wear. Mm-hmm. They're steel or aluminum or whatever.
Probably titanium. But yeah, I think we should do a whole show on prosthetics because while most of us are not eligible, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can learn, and it's, if nothing else, it's kind of going to be the starting point once we're able to freely and voluntarily augment that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I am eager to get bone conduction. I'm eager to get hearing aids, cochlear implants.
Yep.
And I will get them whether or not I have a hearing problem.
I went to the doctor. I've had miserable hearing my whole life. I told the audiologist that I have miserable hearing and I've had it my whole life. And they tested me and they're like, "You have miserable hearing, sir." They didn't call me sir. And I was like, "Great. How about some bone conduction hearing aids?" And they're like, you don't have that kind of hearing loss. I'm like, but these are the only hearing aids I will wear. I test fitted their other hearing aids. They're standard models, and I was like, these feel like rubbish. They are just pressing against my ear canals in the worst way. When I move my jaw, I smile less. Like in the 2 minutes that I wore them, I was like, these suck so much. I will go under the knife. Give me the hearing aid I want. And they're like, nope, you don't have that kind of hearing loss. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't want anything. Goodbye.
Yeah, I'll go somewhere else for it then.
Let me know where you go.
Yeah. So, and also we talked about the guys in Wisconsin that have the vending service.
2xSquare in Wisconsin, our neighbor state. Yes.
Now they offered implants to their whole staff, and as they're testing a system that tracks your payments in an external system and ties in with the RFID tag you have implanted, so it keeps your balance running in these other systems, and you scan your RFID tag, and it takes it off of that balance.
And I got you through the front door. Is their work badge.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah, it was either 40 or 60% of the employees opted for it. That's super cool.
Yeah. I would opt for it.
So yeah, close to a professional cyborg, and they were implanted by their employer. So
yeah, but they can do their job without it.
True.
So I think that doesn't work for us.
Nope, not specifically, not for this episode.
Not unless 2xSquare really stepped it up and said you can't work here unless you're a cyborg.
Oh, that would be a shit show.
Oh,
the press hated that. I checked 2xSquare. I just Googled them shortly after that, and they had a Google rating. Every business has a Google rating, and everything, they were like 1.5, 2 stars. Because people are like, oh, blah, 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 sign of the beast, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe they're forcing their employees, blah, 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 blah. End of the world, revelations. I'm like, I have no idea what this company does. All right, vending machines. And apparently bringing about the downfall of humanity. Synergy? I don't know.
We should talk while we're on. We should talk about Patreon.
Yes.
So we have a Patreon page. We definitely we always can use the help of our community. We use all the funds to support the podcast, outreach, getting our name out there so that we can bring more people in and hopefully increase the awareness of what we're doing and what others are doing around human augmentation. So please check us out. You can go to our website, 2cyborgs.com. You'll find the Patreon link. Click, and whether it's $1, whether it's $100,000 you want to give for a month, I guess that's too aggressive. Whether it's $1, whether it's $100, it doesn't matter. Every little bit helps and helps us get out there. So please check it out. We definitely appreciate it.
And super big thank you to those who already donate to Patreon. We appreciate it, and it helps to make the show possible.
Absolutely. Okay, Brian, is there anything else? We still have to talk about dangerous things. So is there anything new going on with dangerous things, or is anyone been focused entirely on the Vivo Key?
I assumed he was focused on the Vivo Key, so I haven't heard of anything new coming out of there recently.
I don't see anything new on the site, but all the same stuff is still there. It's still really good. You still can't get the M31 Magnum.
Nope, not yet.
All the time that I have online, not doing all right.
But yeah, we're talking about dangerous things, custom gadgetry for the discerning biohacker, where you can find cutting-edge implantable technology and equipment to support it. Tim and I both have implants from them, as we've mentioned, I think, during this show and in the past, like the XNT NFC tags, which Tim uses to open his front door, and I use it as my V-card. So if you see me at Body Hacking Con, just ask me to stick out my hand, and you can get my contact info.
All right. Did we cover everything? Is there anybody online? I mean, we have some people online. Are there any questions on the topic of professional cyborgs that you would like to hear us talk about, or any points you'd like to make? Because there's always like a 3-second delay.
Yeah. And as always, during any part of our show, you're welcome to ask questions. And it looks like Tim's been chatting back and forth.
Yeah, talking about AI teaching, actually. So that's interesting.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that after the show.
Yeah.
Oh, if you do come up with any questions, shout them out real quick. Otherwise, thank you for listening. We'd like to invite our listeners to email us at cyborgs@2cyborgs.com. You can also shoot either of us an email, Tim@2cyborgs.com or Brian@2cyborgs.com.
Well, we already talked about Blockpool. We already talked about everybody, so I don't have.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you'll find links to all our sponsors on our website, 2cyborgs.com. And while you're there, be sure to visit our store. You can get your very own 2Cyborgs branded stuff like hooded sweatshirts, drinkware, baby onesies, dog onesies, all that good stuff. This is Brian McAvoy drinking from one of This is Brian McAvoy drinking from one of our adorable coffee cups right now.
And this is Tim Shank. You have been listening to Two Cyborgs and a Microphone, brought to you by two cyborgs who have sexy mugs. Get it?
Like, follow, share, +1. Oh, hey, you can't +1 anymore. Google Plus is going down.
Right.
And subscribe. Subscribe on any of the popular podcast services, including Google Play Music, iTunes, and Stitcher. You can help us move up the podcast ladder by commenting and subscribing on iTunes.
And you'll find us on Twitter at 2cyborgs. That's the number 2cyborgs.
Okay, AI teaching. I've not been paying any attention to the YouTube chat. I'm sorry, but I want to hear what you heard.
No, it's interesting. Somebody we talked about. Let me go back. Yeah, it was just a question from somebody that said, aren't teachers being replaced by AI soon? And I haven't heard anything about that happening, but that's a perfect use case for AI. Because AI it has the bandwidth and the capability to have you can make custom learning plans that are dependent on the individual who's learning.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And with AI and the facial recognition, it can sense emotions. It can sense, it can get a sense of what your mind space is. So yeah, I think that I've not heard anything about it, but I think it's a gregot idea.
I think there's a lot of potential there.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to building. We were talking before we started broadcasting that I just built another computer. I'm getting ready for VR.
Mm-hmm.
So virtual reality for education, that's already being used. I don't have any specifics, but if you combine VR and AI, let the AI create a virtual environment for learning that is directly responsive to the person who is learning, that could be very, very effective. I think that's a great idea.
Kind of somewhere between Diamond Age and Ready Player One.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting concept, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I mean, teachers, they're underpaid as it is.
Right.
There's way more students than there are teachers to serve them, so people don't get, students don't get the attention that they really need when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, but if the lesson plans could be automated, and then the teachers could be there for the one-on-one help that is necessary, because when a teacher's lecturing, that's pretty much on rails. The lecture happens, and then afterwards it's that point where students are like, yeah, I didn't really understand what you said there. Can you help explain that in another way? The AI can help with that. The physical teacher can help with that.
Well, I might sense the confusion in the process of delivering whatever lecture that is.
Oh, sure. If your eyes start darting around and your heart rate increases, you probably don't get it.
Yeah, or if your brow crinkles, that means you're struggling to think to consider, with that thought or with that idea a little bit. So the AI could be very, very quick to slow down, add more detail, and continue to focus on that until your eyes, until the crinkle on your forehead goes away.
Sure.
You know? And then all of a sudden you have a very responsive system. So I think that's excellent.
Yeah. I think it'll be a while before we get rid of actual teachers, and teaching is a great profession, but teaching may eventually become a programming skill where you need to get that education to be able to program and to be able to instruct people. Neat. Super neat.
Yeah. So, Brian, one thing that one of our viewers brought up is your name means son of the yellow-haired lad. I did not know that.
And that is true.
Yeah, that is like the pronouns. Brian, son of the yellow-haired lad. McCoy.
I should add that to my V card.
Yeah.
So when people are like, oh, it probably says like Brian McStuff McAvoy or something now. That's a little bit lengthier, but
It is. There's not much space on these NFC tags. Right?
No. Unless I just get son of the yellow-haired lad.org.
What are you taking?
It probably is.
Probably is. All right. So I don't think there's any other questions. We do have one of our viewers is talking about titanium plates under the skin. Doesn't really fit with what we're talking about today.
Unless you're a soldier and you need internal body armor to live.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Well, I don't know. Maybe who knows what DARPA is doing? They probably have some people that have tried all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, I imagine your heart is used to existing inside a cavity that's kind of squishy and kind of flexible. So I imagine a titanium. Well, it probably wouldn't want to make it rigid, not terribly. Now, Cyberlast is talking about the internal non-Newtonian body fluid armor, which there's a thread on that at biohack.me, and I think those were put in over the shins, and I think there's even videos somewhere of the person with the implants getting hit with like a baseball bat in the shins and being like, "So, I just got hit in the shins."
Yeah, that's cool.
It did cause some trouble socially for the implantee.
Bound to happen as people catch up to us.
Eye roll, audible eye roll.
Yeah. So anyway, why don't we wrap this up, Brian? I think we're good. Thank you all for joining us online. It's nice to have some chat. Actually, this is
yeah.
We can have more of this. So you all have a wonderful evening, and thanks.
Auf Wiedersehen.